The Orlando Magic have decided to pay Jonathan Isaac 5 years, $84 million in a contract renegotiation that will cap off this offseason. So, all in all, get you a girl that loves you just as much as the Orlando Magic love Jonathan Isaac, because they are some of the most loyal in the game. We're going to go over why I think that this might be a bargain of a contract, and we're going to go over some of the fan reaction. But first, if you are a part of the whopping 96.5% of people who watch these videos who are not subscribed, guys, make sure to subscribe and support the channel. It means a lot, and it certainly helps us grow over here at Magic Digest. Now, we're going to be moving into exactly why this could be a steal for the Orlando Magic. But first, they have gone through just about everything that they could possibly do with the cap that they had. Yesterday, they had about $27 million in cap space. Well, they decided to use that space to re-sign just about everybody and also sign KCP and renegotiate Jonathan Isaac. So, why exactly was this a good time to re-sign Jonathan Isaac? Well, he's not exactly going to be worth a ton of money as this deal goes on. When we're looking at the deal and how it is built, he is going to get paid $27 million this upcoming year. That doesn't take away the ability to sign Paolo and Franz and other guys that we might want long term, because they're paying him this upcoming season. They're saying, hey, you played 60 games, you had your best year. We're going to pay you right now. And as this contract goes on, and as the odds of you staying healthy, continues to diminish just because of general age on top of his injury history, well, you're going to get paid less, and you're going to be less on the cap. And I think that that's really important. I think that there was no possible way that they could get this contract done unless it was front-loaded. Unless this contract was front-loaded, then I would have been very, very skeptical, because there's no reason when we're really trying to build around our main guys that contract should at all be in the way. And in previous years, it's kind of been a pain, but it's not going to be like that right now. Now, what makes this contract different as far as what it was like in previous years, and why won't it be a pain now? Because they're getting paid, Isaac's getting paid just about as much on average as he had been on his previous deal. Well, his deal now is only 8% of the cap. Jonathan Isaac is taking a huge discount to stay with the Magic, and his contract is easily going to become one of the best in the NBA for the league's best defenders. Now, look, he's not going to be scoring the ball. He's not going to be a 20-point per game scorer, even a 15 points per game scorer. But as it is concerned right now, his contract is taking up only 8% of the cap by his final year. That is a bargain for a guy who could be all NBA defensive team if healthy. And he could have been that, and in all the previous years of his career, he just wasn't able to stay healthy. So if he can stay healthy, then you're thinking, look, we have a log jam at the front court right now. We re-signed pretty much everybody that we could, and we could possibly trade Wendell Carter Jr. So with Jonathan Isaac stepping in and being that main defensive piece, for him to only be taking up 8% of the cap, I think is huge, especially for team building. And at the end of the day, whenever you look at, everybody's saying that this is a risk, this is a huge huge anchor on the team's flexibility. Well, it's not, and it's realistically just paying him what he's probably worth, even on an open market. Maybe not on an open market, but what he could potentially be worth if he had another good season after his contract would have been up this year. You're thinking you're getting him for cheaper than you may have thought, but I think that is something that they need to that they took into account, and what I think what some other fans need to take into account. Now, when we look at his stats, we're seeing not a ton of scoring, but we're really liking the defense and just the amount of games that he is playing for the Orlando Magic. I think that that's probably the biggest thing. He had probably his best year in his career as a pro this past season. Usually for a guy looking for a new contract, he's going to have to prove it. And especially Jonathan Isaac essentially be on a prove-it deal, right? So you thought it would have been longer. But I think the Orlando Magic decided to take advantage of what he could potentially be worth in the coming years. And they said, look, we're going to get you on a cheap deal so we can trade you if you continue to get better, and we don't have to shell out the money to keep you after next season. If Jonathan Isaac were to put together another season of 7, let's say he plays 70 games. If Jonathan Isaac were to play 70 games at a high defensive level, then the Orlando Magic would have had to either shell out a ton of money to pay him in the years where they're trying to extend Franz and then potentially extend Paolo or extend Suggs, and that would cause way more issues than it would to just actually already have him under contract, especially if you're looking to trade Wendell Carter Jr. So they're saying, if you get better, we're going to have you for cheap. If you don't get better, we have you for cheap, and we'll be able to move you because we'll say we're going to get off of this. You're a front-loaded contract. We're already paying that $27 million this year. We're going to go on ahead and deal you somewhere else if we can. Now, I don't know if they would end up doing that because they just have shown so much faith in Jonathan Isaac, but they do have some level of safety net to it that I really like, and I think most people need to take into account. Now, I think probably the last and biggest piece of this acquisition, this renegotiation, is the Exhibit 3 part of it. When we're looking at this contract, it is it includes an Exhibit 3, which could limit or eliminate his salary projection based on an injury to a certain body part, and obviously there's going to be more information on exactly what that body part is, but I'm assuming it's got to be somewhere on his legs or in that general area. So obviously if he were to sustain an injury similar to what he has had in his previous few years that has kept him off the court, well, then the Magic have said, look, this isn't going to fly, and this is not going to be the exact contract that you signed. And I think Jonathan Isaac knows that, and I also think that's why he was able to get this deal done and didn't want to test the waters in free agency coming after this next season. So that's good that the Magic have a general safety net. They have the Exhibit 3. They have an asset, a contract that could be tradable down the road, and it's not going to stop them to sign Paolo and Franz. So why are people exactly mad? I don't know right now. I think a lot of people wanted the Orlando Magic to make more moves in the offseason than they did, and I think them seeing Jonathan Isaac re-signed after just one reliable year in his entire career, essentially, has a lot of fans scared. But at the end of the day, I don't really think you should be. I think that the potential of this contract could be through the roof, and the risk isn't as bad as people are going to say. If we're paying him $27 million next year and he's not any good, well, we weren't able to get anybody in free agency. We weren't able to use that cap. We hit the salary minimum anyway with this contract. We're probably not going to bring back Markelle Fultz. We weren't going to use the money on him. And Joe Ingles is probably still back, so we're keeping the entire team intact. So there's realistically no reason that we would have used this money this year after losing out on Clay and PG. So there shouldn't be a disappointment factor either. So just in general, this Jonathan Isaac contract is not as bad as a lot of people are saying, and Jeff Weltman certainly has a vision, and I don't think we're getting screwed in a sense. And I think at the end of the day, if you can get an all-NBA player on a front-loaded contract, an all-defensive NBA player on a front-loaded contract like the Magic just did with Jonathan Isaac, I think you're doing yourself a big favor.